Hi. On Friday, the 25th of May, Ireland will be asked to vote in a referendum. The referendum will be about removing the Eighth Amendment. I, like many others, have been out campaigning for a yes vote. I believe by removing the Eighth Amendment, we will make Ireland a safer place for women. We will allow people that find themselves pregnant to have a choice over their own body, their own decisions, and their own lives. It'll allow doctors to be able to properly treat those who are pregnant without fear of repercussion from the law. So, on a more personal note, I want to remove the Eighth Amendment because I feel like the Eighth Amendment negatively affects pregnancies in Ireland. 2 years ago, I found myself pregnant. I was always a responsible person, as they say. I always used contraception. I was always very safe. And yet, I still found myself pregnant. And the day I found out I was pregnant was one of the scariest days of my life. I was terrified. I was sick. I was nervous. I was scared. In my head, I kept playing over and over and over. What can I do? I contemplated going to England. I contemplated getting an abortion. Because to me, I couldn't figure out how I was supposed to cope. How was I supposed to do this? I had no money. I was a student living at home. But I talked to my boyfriend. And while I had my head and heart set on an abortion, he wanted to go for it and go along with the pregnancy, have a child. So I did. I made the decision to listen to my boyfriend, to listen to Owen, and I went along with the pregnancy. The very next day, after finding out I was pregnant, I went to the doctors, as you do, and I was told that I'm to come off my medication. I have a chronic, very painful, potentially life-threatening illness. When it's not managed, I have extreme migraines. I have vision loss. I have memory loss. I have confusion. I faint. I collapse. And they're only the symptoms that actually get on my skin the worst. There are loads more that I just learned to cope with because they don't affect my life too badly. So how was I supposed to manage not on medication? Once again, that fear that never really went away just got stronger and stronger. So over the next few months, I done what you're supposed to do. I told family members, I attended the hospital appointments. But surely, as the pregnancy went on, I got sicker and sicker. I got to the point where I was fainting on a daily basis because I was being refused my medication because it may endanger the fetus, the baby, whatever you want to call it. I called her a parasite back then because I did not want that pregnancy. I did not want to be going through that pregnancy, and that's all I saw this baby as, was a parasite feeding off me and draining me of all my energy. Because this medication that I was on, that I was being refused by Irish doctors for, is given very regularly during pregnancies in America and England. There are two countries I know of, because I'm in a support group which includes women of these countries. and to be denied it and then to faint on a daily basis, endangering myself and, actually endangering the baby as well, endangering my daughter. I had several bleeds that I had to go to the hospital because in fear of miscarrying after having fainting attacks. And then on top of all this, on top of feeling sick, fainting, barely being able to walk to the shops alone in fear of collapsing on the street, my mental health got worse. I've never really been great with mental health. I've always sort of struggled. But pregnancy made it worse. Pregnancy was this mountain I couldn't climb. It was struggle after struggle after struggle. And every day just became harder and more difficult to cope with. Like, I couldn't cope being pregnant. I was sick, pregnant. So how on earth could I take care of a baby? How on earth could I provide for a child if I could barely walk to a shop? I had no income. I had fecal health. I didn't want this baby. I didn't want to be pregnant. I didn't want to be a mother because I couldn't. In my mind, I could not be a mother. In my mind, a child deserves the best possibility in life. I was not that. And that made me super depressed. So depressed to the point where I was self-harming. And when I brought this up to nurses, I was talked to blah blah blah, and like, nurses are lovely. They are lovely. The midwives are lovely. But then came the scary part. Then came the part where I was getting later and later into my pregnancy, and fainting was happening more and more often, and I was not leaving the house without somebody because I couldn't, because I was fainting even when somebody was around. So I couldn't collapse on the street. So everything was just getting so hard that one day it felt too much. Well, more than one day. But one particular day it felt too much. I wanted to be over. I wanted it all to be over. One way or another, I wanted it to be over. And I went to the nurse, the mental health nurse in the Rotunda, and I explained this, and I explained that I just couldn't keep going the way I was going. And her solution to me was, then I'd have to stay in the hospital to make sure I don't endanger my pregnancy. And I know they're the words she used because I couldn't help but think, endanger my pregnancy? What about me? I already leave every single doctor's appointment feeling like a vessel, feeling like nothing more than this carrier for what I was deeming a parasite. Because nobody cared about me. Nobody cared I was fainting. Nobody cared I was cutting my wrist. All people cared about was there a heartbeat? Was she strong? Was she this? Was she that? Not about me. I did not for 1 second feel cared for. And people may tell me that this is a lack of care from the doctors, not necessarily the 8th Amendment. But then why? Why was I being denied by several different doctors the same medication that is being given in England and America? I was even suffering a lot with kidney infections, and I was denied antibiotics for the kidney infections also, to the point where I was hospitalized. I was hospitalized with kidney infections. And I don't want someone to be denied medication purely on the basis that they're pregnant. I don't want someone to feel like they have to make a choice if they are chronically ill, whether they go through 9-10 months of pain and agony for the sake of a child, whether it's a wanted pregnancy or not. Being denied medication that helps alter your life is so draining on your system. Pregnancy's already hard enough without having these extra struggles being put in our way. I know I talked about a lot there. I've talked about my own mental health during pregnancy, my own struggles with wanting an abortion, and my own experience with being denied medication. But these are real problems for so many women across Ireland. And I don't think that's right. I don't think we should live in a country where you are being treated less than just because you're pregnant. Just because you're pregnant, you are no longer entitled to the type of treatment that helps you go every day in a day-to-day life. I'm sorry. It is hard enough living in daily pain without then being denied the medication and treatment that makes your life bearable. So, I'm voting yes. So every person that finds themselves pregnant can be treated medically with the same respect and the same consideration as if they would be when they were not pregnant. And I hope, for the sake of compassion, all my friends and families and any stranger on the internet that stumbles upon this also votes yes. Thank you for listening to my ranting. Let's hope Ireland will be a more caring place come next week.